Hello everybody, Alex here. This is the second part of programming basics in Java. Today we will be learning about loops, arrays, methods, user inputs, error handling, and classes. And as always, in the end, we are going to implement a full demo app so we can practice all the things that we have learned in this episode. So let's start with loops. Loops allows us to repeat a block of code multiple times without rewriting it. We have three types of loop. The for loop. The for loop executes a block of code for a fixed number of times. We have the while loop, which executes a block of code as long as a specified condition is true. And last one, we have the do while loop, which executes a block of code at least once, and then it continues to execute the code as long as a specified condition is true. Let's jump in IntelliJ and see some examples for loops. So at this point, you don't need to type anything along. I will explain line by line what we are doing. And in the end, we are going to do a full demo app where you will be able to type on your own, follow along. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment in the video. So let's go on the first thing that we're going to talk today, which is loops. The first type of loop is a for loop. All right, so the for loop, this for loop here is going to iterate for 5 times. And how this works, we have some keywords. We have the for, which is the starting keyword for the loop. And you can see in the parentheses that we say int I equals 1, I equals or less than 5, and I plus plus. Let me explain what these things do here. So the first part, which is int I is equals 1, it means that the starting point of this for loop will be number 1. The second part is the one that defines for how long it's going to iterate, right? And it is for I, that will be as long as the I is less or equal to 5. And the second part is the one that is increasing the I. So on the first loop, the I will be 1. When this finish, the I++ will be triggered, and the next iteration will have the I to be a number to be equal to 2. It's still less than 5. Next will be 3, then will be 4, then will be 5. And on the last one, the I is going to be 6. And when the loop is going to check the condition I is less or equal to 5, it's going to be false. So it's not going to execute again. Let's see this first iteration here, right? I will run. So let's run this example that I have already prepared for you. It's going to print out the for loop text, and then it's going to print out the iteration plus I, which means iteration 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Let's try it. Iteration 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So as you can see, that was iterated like 5 times because the I started with number 1. It was incremented 5 times, but on the last one, the I was 6, so the condition wasn't fulfilled, and that make the program to exit the for loop. At this point, I would like to introduce you to something that's called debugging and breakpoints. It's going to be very useful for you to know that, and it will help you to understand how the program is running. By going in line 9, for example, or in the number column, you can click here, and you will see that the line will be highlighted with some kind of red color. And here you will see the red dot on the side. Now, if instead of running the app from here with the run loops main, you can debug the loops main, right? So by trying this one, you will notice that the program will stop executing at line 9 and will wait for our instructions, right? So we need to tell the program to continue. But why this is important? You can see here in the console that the I is equal to 1, right? If we click on the step over, it will go again to the for condition, right? You will see that the I got incremented, and now it's 2, then it's 3, then it's 4, then it's 5, and in the end it's not going to be executed because the I went up to 6, so the condition will not be fulfilled anymore. That's it. You can click on resume, and the program will exit. Very nice. So let's go to the second type of loop, which is the while loop. The while loop. To create a while loop, you need to start with the keyword while, parentheses, which is the condition that we are going to check, and the curly braces, which is the code that is going to be executed inside the while loop. What is going on here? We have a variable count which we have set to number 0. The condition is valid, it's going to be true, as long as the count is less than 3. The first time, it's going to be incremented to 1, the second to 2, and then it's going to be incremented to 3, which 3, it's not less than 3, right? It's equal to 3. That means that it's going to break the loop and it's going to continue and stop the execution of the program in our case. Let's try that. The same way, I would like you to go and put a breakpoint on line 14 or in the line after the while keyword and run with debug. Cool. Now you can see that count is 0 because it was 0 here. 0 is less than 3, which is true. It's going to print out the count is count, which is 0, and then we will see that the count is still 0 here. Now if we go and click step over, the program has paused in the next line, and if you click on this console tab, right, you will see that the outputted text is already here. So count is 0. Cool. Now let's go back to these threads and variables and click step over. Now you will see that the count is 1, the count is 2. Now that the count is 3, the condition is not true anymore. You can see that IntelliJ is already highlighting that it's false. That means that the code block inside the curly braces is not going to be executed. Move on, and that's all. That was a while loop. We will see more in-depth examples in the end when we will be building our full demo. So let's move on to the third type of loop, which is the do while loop. So do while loop. In order to create a do while loop, you need to start with the keyword do and open curly braces. You need to write the code that's going to be executed inside the loop. And you will notice that now the condition is in the end. What that allows us to do is to make sure that this code block is going to execute at least once, because the condition is going to be checked last. Let's go in this example here. In this example, we have a variable num, which we have set to 1, and we are doubling that every time, right? 2 times 1. I will put a breakpoint. Same here, and I will run the debug from this option this time. Let's go. Number is num, which is the num is 1, right? Now the num will be 2, which 2, it's less than 10. We will execute the code. It's 4, and it's 16, which is not less than 10, and the program will not execute anymore. If you jump to the console, you will see that the number is 1, 2, 4, 8, and of course, when it was 16, the code wasn't executed. One last thing that I want to show you here is that if the condition is not met at all, let's say that the num was already 100, and we try to run this application, you will notice that the code block is going to execute at least once. So the first time, because when we will check the condition, it will be false, and that will make the program to move on. Let's click on the debug. You will see we are already in the curly braces, so we're already executing the code. Num is 100. Next. Now will be 200, but this doesn't really matter because the condition is going to be false either way, and we will not execute the program anymore. But in the console, you will see that the do while loop has the number is 100 executed at least once. That's it. One last thing for the loops. You need to be very, very careful because there is a chance that you get inside an infinite loop. For example, here we have a variable is done, which is false. We are checking while the is done is equals to false, right? And we're executing the system out println. It's not done yet. But by mistake, we forgot to switch the is done to true. That means that this loop will always be valid and this is going to run forever. Let's try this out again. Is done is false, but we are moving again and is done is false and we're done is false. If you remove the breakpoint and you click on the resume, you click and you go to the console, you will see that the is not yet is still running and will be running forever because the condition is going to be valid forever. This is an infinite loop and you need to be careful with this one because this can take down your entire application. But that's it. I will stop the program. It's going to throw an error, of course. And we're done with loops. Next, we'll be talking about arrays and array operations. An array is a collection of elements of the same data type stored in memory. Usually we store them in a variable. Arrays can be traversed using various loop constructs, such as for, while, or for each loops, to access and manipulate their elements. Array elements are accessed using their index, which starts from 0 and goes up to the size of the array -1. I will give you an example very soon about that. It might be a bit confusing for you in the beginning, but it will make sense eventually. And common array operations include sorting, searching, inserting, deleting, and modifying elements. But that's it with the theory. Let's move on and see some examples in IntelliJ. Okay, again, I have prepared some demo for you. You don't need to type this right now. We will use arrays on our demo later. What do we have here? We have in line 5, we have a variable numbers, and we're initiating a new array. So to initiate a new array, you need to type new int, that means integer, and those two brackets. Inside the brackets, you have to define the length of the array. So in our case, we have said that we are going to create an array that is going to contain at maximum 3 elements. Moving on line 6, we are setting that numbers, which is our variable. Again, we have to define the index, and the index has to be defined inside the brackets. And we're saying 0. That means that we are going to set the first element of an array. The first element, we are going to set that as number 10. You can do whatever integer number you want. It's totally fine. Line number 7, numbers, again, the variable name, index 1, which in reality it's the second item in the array. We're setting that 23, and the same thing, index number 2, the third one, number 26. Now, in line 9 and 10, we are printing out some text and the value of numbers with index 2, which is the last one, right? The third one. And it's going to be number 26. Let's move on with this example first. And I'll show you a bit how you can overwrite the values. I'm just going to run the app. Access single index number is 26. Now, you can also change the number on the fly. For example, here in line 12, we are setting again the numbers 2, so the last one, but you can do also the first, it doesn't really matter, here, which is the second item, and set it to number 100. Let's see right now what we are going to get. Here, it was 10, right? And now it's 100. If we want to print same variable 2 times, it's okay. You can see that, okay, the first time it was 23, but the second time that we accessed the item of the index, it was 100 because we overwrote it in line 12. Cool, pretty simple, right? That's all that you need to know at this moment. Let's move on with accessing the items of the array with using a loop that we learned earlier. I'm going to comment out this one, and we're going to need the numbers. So what is this loop going to do? It's going to run for variable I from 0. This is very common because all arrays, they start at 0. It's the first element of the array. So we usually, when we create a loop to traverse an array, we use the index 0. And the condition here is valid as long as I is less than the length. In our case, the length is 3, right? Because we set it here. And iterate and increasing the I by 1 with every loop. Let's see what we are going to get in our case. I'm running with a debugger, so application stop, and here it is. I is 0, right? The number's length, which you can see by opening this item here, it's 3, because 1, 2, 3, right? It's going to execute 3 times. Let's move to the console. We have here the for loop text, that's cool, and let's click step over. Now it's 23, 26, and it's done. So simple. With a simple loop, we managed to traverse through the entire array. A different way to traverse through the array is the for each loop. I'm going to comment out the for loop. Similarly, this loop is going to traverse through each item of the array. To create a for each loop, you need to start again with the keyword for, and inside the parentheses, you need to set the single item. So in our case, will be just a number, and the type is integer. And on the right side, after the columns, you need to specify the array, right? In our case, is the numbers array that we have created in the top. Cool, and this is going to iterate one by one on every single item. And I will run this up. Here, same result again, 10, 23, 26. That's cool. As a last example, I would like to show you how it works with arrays of string, because arrays can have multiple types, right? At this point, we are going to work only with array of string and array of numbers. Also, in this case, you will notice that I'm initiating the array somehow differently. This is another way to initiate an array. You are just initiating and setting the values right directly when you initiate the array. You don't need to add them one by one, but the result is going to be the same. Let's run the app and you will see that we are going to iterate through each fruit in the fruits array. Let's run it. And here you are, apple, banana, and cherry. That's it. I think we got enough with arrays. Our next topic is methods and functions. Methods are a reusable block of code that perform specific tasks within a program. In order to create a method, you need to define the name, the return time, and some parameters, if there are any, right? So in the example that you can see on this slide, we don't have any parameter. We have the search method that it's not returning anything. When you see void, it means that it's not returning anything, but it's doing something, right? So in this case, it is searching for something. Also, another very useful thing that we're going to see is the user input. It's not very commonly used, but will be very useful for us for the purpose of this tutorial. So is the scanner class. So the scanner class in Java is used to handle user input. It provides methods to read different data types, such as integers, doubles, and strings. You can see on the screen the way that you can initiate a scanner. Just say scanner, it's a new scanner, and it takes a parameter system.in. You will see that in a second in IntelliJ, but it's very, very simple. Let's jump in IntelliJ. Okay, now I have already prepared two methods for our demo. We have the greet method, which is returning void, so it means that it's not returning anything. And it's taking as a parameter a string, which is called name. This name can be this name can be referred inside the curly braces, so inside the execution of this method. And what is this method doing is just printing out some hello and name. Let's run this demo right now. So let's see a demo of the greet method. At line 7, I'm greeting myself, Alex, and on the line 8, I'm greeting George. The expectation is that we see on the console just hello Alex and hello George. But the main goal here is for you to understand that we have a single method from line 22 to 24, right? That we are reusing that. And we can do that as many times as you want. For example, you can greet George, and then you can greet, I don't know, Michael, and whatever you want. It doesn't change the behavior of the method. The second example is the method add that it's returning an integer. What this method is doing is receiving three integers as parameters, a, b, and c, and it's summing them, right? It's adding a plus b plus c. Let's see this example. On line 11, we are creating a new variable, var result, and we're assigning that the result of add function, because as you saw, the add function here, or method, you can use whatever term you want to, it's returning an integer. So it's returning this result, what it means returns. So when you call a method, it can return a value. And in our case, we are storing that value in the result. And in line 12, we are just printing out the result. If you run the app, you will see that, except from the hello from grid method that we called above, we get number 25, because 5 plus 12, it makes us 25. The scanner class that I was talking previously, here is an example. We are creating a scanner just by typing new scanner and passing them system in. They are all built-in functions and methods of Java. You don't have to worry about that. And you can say scanner, cool, println, enter your name. What this scanner is going to allow us to do is to ask for user for an input. And in line 19, we are getting the input of the user, which is going to be a text right now. And we are using at the end the greet method. So we are passing the name, which is the input of the user, because we are setting the name to be equals to the scanner next. So this is how you get the value that the user inputted. You are setting that to the variable name, and we are passing that variable name as a parameter to the greet method. And this greet method is going to print out hello and whatever name we passed. Let's run this so you can see that in action. Cool. Here you will see these are from the above example. Hello, Alex, George, Michael, the result of integer. And here you will see that IntelliJ is asking me to enter my name. So it's the cursor is flashing, right? So I can input whatever I want. But I will do like, okay, let's input Alice. The program is run and it will say, hello, Alice. How cool is that, right? This is a simple way that you can interact with a user, and it's going to be very, very useful for our tutorials. That's it with the methods. Let's move on the next topic. So, object-oriented programming. Maybe one of the biggest topics in programming in general. Java is an object-oriented programming language, but today we're going to just scratch a bit the interface and see what is going on and what does it mean. So, first, what is object-oriented programming? Object-oriented programming is focusing on the creation and manipulation of objects, which for Java, it means that we are working with classes. So every class is an object. Object-oriented programming provides us a way to structure and organize our code, making it more modular, reusable, and easier to maintain. Now, classes and objects. A class is a blueprint, or a template, if you wish, for creating objects. It defines the properties, we call them also attributes, and behaviors, which are the methods that we just saw a couple of minutes ago. And an object is an instance of a class, which can access the properties and methods. I know it sounds very, very complicated right now. We will see some examples. And believe me, we are going to work a lot with objects and classes, and everything will make sense eventually. Attributes and methods of the class are the data or properties or behaviors of that class. For example, an object can have like attributes like color or size or name, and can have like methods to perform like actions like moving or changing color or withdrawing money, or yeah, you can whatever you can imagine as an action. One of the concepts of object-oriented programming is encapsulation. Encapsulation is a key principle of object-oriented programming that involves hiding the internal implementation of details of an object and providing a public interface to interact with it. Super complex, I know. Just keep in mind that there is something that is called encapsulation, and it's helping us to hide all the complexity inside the class. Let's move on and see a couple of examples for objects and classes. Cool, I have already prepared for you a class named bank account. Well, now, as you might imagine, a bank account have many properties, right? But in order to keep this example simple, we are working with just two properties: the account holder name, which is a string, and the account balance, which is a double. This thing here in line 9 to line 12, which says public bank account and gets two parameters, which is account holder name and the initial balance, is the constructor of the object, right? In order to create an object that is a bank account from the class bank account, you need to provide those two initial values. You need to provide an account holder name and an initial balance. Imagine that when you go to the bank and you ask them to create an account for you, the first thing that they're going to ask you is like at least your name and an initial balance, some money to deposit on your account. So this bank account has a few methods. Method number one is the deposit one. When you want to go and deposit some money, in reality, what is happening behind the scene, it's like you're calling this deposit method, putting the money that you are depositing, and we're doing some validations, right? If the amount is greater than 0, cool, we are adding that to your balance and printing out, okay, successfully deposited your amount. Now, if the amount is 0 or less, we are printing out like, okay, something is wrong because deposit amount must be positive. You cannot deposit 0 money, right? Next one, we have the method withdrawn. You want to withdraw some of your money. Again, we have the withdraw method. It's still returning void because we don't need that to return anything, but it's doing some validations. You will see that in line 26, for example, we are checking if the amount is greater than 0 and the amount should be equal or less than your total balance. If it's good, we are extracting that from your balance and printing out a message. Now, if the condition is not valid and the amount that you are asking for is more than your balance, we are printing out an error message so that you have insufficient balance for withdrawal. So if you want to withdraw $100, but you have on your bank account just 50, I mean, we're sorry, but we cannot move on with that method and action. In the end, if all those conditions are wrong, it means that the amount that you have asked to withdraw, it's not valid, and we are printing out, okay, withdrawal amount must be positive. Next method is the display balance. So you just want to check how much you have on your balance, right? And what this does is printing out the account holder name, so your name or your client's name, and the current balance of the account. And the last method, which is the simplest one, is just returning the account holder name. And that's it with the method. Now, I have already prepared an example for you. This is a pretty simple one, but it's more or less what we are going to do next on the full demo. What is going on in this example? We are creating a bank account for Alice with the account holder name to be Alice and the initial balance to be 1000. First method, we want to display the balance. Then let's deposit some money. We are depositing and then we are displaying the balance. Next, we are going to attempt to withdraw some money. Withdraw 300, which should be enough because initially we had 1000, we added 500, and now we want to withdraw 300. And then we are displaying the balance again. And in the end, we are going to ask to withdraw 2000, but the expectation is to get an error message because we don't have 2000 in our account. And we are going to display the balance, which is going to be 1200, right? Because this one withdrawal here is going to fail. I will run this example. And what's going on? Yeah. So I will go from the beginning. Okay, we created the bank account. It's cool. The account holder is Alice. Current balance is 1000, right? Up to here. Then we are depositing 500. account holder is Alice, and the balance is 1,500. Then we have withdrawn 300 for Alice. Now it's 1,200, and then we try to withdraw 2,000, right? But we see here that we got an error message that says insufficient balance for withdrawal, and still the amount is the same as above. On the example, we just instantiated a new object from this bank account class, which you can navigate inside if you hold controller command and click in that. And we passed the name, the initial balance, and that's it. If we go back, and you will see that this display balance is being used a lot. And this is the reason for getting printed the holder name, the account holder name, and the current balance every time. That's it with the theory. Let's move on the full demo example that we're going to do. So let's start our full demo, and we will practice whatever we have learned today. I have already created this empty bank manager class, and I have moved the bank account class from our previous example. If you want, feel free to pause for a second and type all this on your own. I'm going to slowly scroll down so you can pause and implement and type on your IDE all these methods. Very nice. Let's move on to the main bank management class. So we are a bank management class, right? We need to manage our bank accounts. Okay, let's start with our demo in the bank management class. So the first thing that this class needs is a public static void main string. And now that probably makes sense to you. This is a string array, which is an array of string arguments that we could pass in the main method, but we don't do that. Now, we are a bank management class. We need to manage bank accounts. Let's start with an array of accounts, which is a new bank account array. And I think that 3 are more than enough for our demo. Account number 0. So the first one is new bank account, and I will create one for Alice with the initial balance of 100. Now we are going to create two more, right? I will duplicate these lines, like holding Command or Control MD, you can duplicate the lines, and you can change that to be 1, 2, so the first account, the second, and the third. The second account will be for George, with the initial to be 105,100. Let's make those doubles. And this can be for Michael, and can be with 500. It's okay. Let's move on. Let's first create a way that we can interact with the user, right? We need to know when we can exit. So let's set this exit to false, and that will make sense in a second for you. Create a scanner class. New scanner with system in, because we're going to ask user for the input. And we can create a loop. So while the exit is false, you remember this one for the first part? So the exclamation mark means the opposite of the actual value. So instead of being true, we want that to be false in order to execute the code inside the while loop. What is this going to do? It's going to output the options that the user of this program has in order to manage the account, right? Let's start with some simple things. Look, okay. A simple bank management app. Cool. First option for the user will be to view all accounts. The second one is going to be to select an account. And the third one could be to exit, let's say. I mean, we are more than enough until with the first two options. So, okay, let's say the third one is exit the app. Cool. And just a friendly message out println. Then we can say, please, please choose an option. That's it. We need to store what the user is going to input. Let's say input choice equals scanner next int. So we are expecting the user to input a number. It is going to be either 1, 2, or 3, right? And in the end, you know what? Let's make this exit true manually. So we can exit the loop. And let's see this in action, what we have created until now. Cool. Simple bank management app, view all accounts. To select an account, 3 exit, please choose an option. This I will say 2, but it doesn't right now, and the app is exited. Cool. Let's move on. We need to check what the user did, right? Okay, so we can say we can use a switch that we learned on the first episode. And we can switch on the choice of the user. And we can say if user is switch, if I don't mistype it. So switch choice case is in case it's 1, which means that the user select to view all the accounts. We need to show them all the accounts, right? How we do that? We need to iterate over all the available accounts. Let's output a message. I say account list. And we need to create a for loop, which can be from I equals to 0, as long as I is less than the account's length, and then increase I. Execute this block of code, and in our case, we just want to output the account holder name, right? And maybe the number in the row. We can do that like that. System out as always, and you can say that our current account is I plus 1. And why this happens? Because the first index is 0, because that's the first number on the array, but it's not the first account that we have. So the first account is the account number 1, not the account number 0. But on the array, the index is still 0. So I plus 1, and here we can say plus, and we can put like a number here, and we can say name plus accounts I. So we get the current account from the iteration, and say get account holder name. Now, the second case. The second case, which gives us the option to select an account, which that means that we need to provide the account number, provide the account number. We need to ask to get that from the user input. So user is going to input another value. Like I say account number is equals to scanner next int. But there is one thing missing here. So the account number can be 1, but in order to find that account inside the index, we need to go -1, right? So in order to do that, we just say next int. I'm going to create the sum -1. So this should be the index number. And very, very simple. We need to do some check. So if the account number is greater than 0 and the account number is less than the account length. So if you ask for account like 100, we don't have 100 accounts, so your input is invalid. We can find the selected account from the array, right? The accounts, and the index is the account number. And we can just output that, right? So account number, name is select account, get a holder name. And if you want to also display the balance, select, we have this method that is called display balance. Cool. Otherwise, if the input is invalid, we can print out like, okay, invalid account number. Oh. We're still exiting manually. And here to close the switch statement, we need to break. And here the same. Let's try what we have done until now. Cool, view all accounts. I will say, okay, let's view all accounts. Account list, Alice, George, Michael, and this was exited. Cool. Let's run it one more time. And this time, let's say that we want to select a specific account. And please provide the account number. Let's see account number 2. And account number 2 is the name is George. And we have the George and the balance. So in reality, we don't need to output manually the account name. It's already handled by the show balance, the display balance method. I'm removing this line here. In order to not leave that incomplete, we need also to define the default behavior on the switch case. And here we can say, okay, invalid command. In that case, if we run that again, you will see that, okay, our options are like 1, 2, or 3. But if I put like 5, you will say, okay, invalid command, and the program will exit. Very cool. Let's see what we have done until now. Please feel free to follow along. If you have any questions, drop a comment and I will answer as soon as possible. Not set this one to exit, right? Okay, let's move on with our example. Until now, we could only see what we can do. Next, let's say that we want to make some actions like withdraw and or deposit. We are going to create a new method outside of the main method that we have already created. I'm going to collapse this one for now. I'm going to create a new method that we will call handle account actions. This is a public, static, void, and we'll call it handle account actions. This will still require an input from the user, so we can pass the scanner as a parameter. And we also want the bank account. So as you can see, you can pass parameters that are classes or objects. You don't need to pass you don't have to pass only strings and integers. What this is going to do? Okay, we need to store a boolean in order to return back to the main flow, right? Let's see, back to main. And we can say that to be false for now. We need to do a while loop. So as long as this is false, we can do that, but we should break whenever we complete our actions. First things first, let's output a message and let's say account actions. First action will be like view balance. The second one is going to be withdraw. And the third one is going to be deposit. And the last one, which is kind of very important for the flow, is going to be like return to the main. Return to main. Another message for the user. Okay, select an action. Cool. Now we need to store this action from the user. Scanner, next int. And we need to check what the action is. So we can do a switch statement on the action variable. And we can say in case that the action is number 1, we need to view the balance. Very nice. So we can do account, display, balance. Cool. And then we need to break, right? Case number 2 is to withdraw. Account, withdraw, and we need to set the amount, right? But in order to set the amount, we need to ask for the user to input that amount. So amount is going to be on the scanner. Next, double. And we're going to put this as a parameter in the withdraw method. Yeah. Cool. And then break the case. Next one is going to be the deposit. Again, we need to ask for the user to input the deposit amount that they want to do. So we can say deposit. And we can say account dot deposit and pass the deposit as a parameter. So what I want you to understand here is how much helpful it is to have all these methods inside the bank account class. So it's very, very reusable for the programmer, right? You can see that just with a few lines of code, we are creating an entire flow, which, okay, might not be a real life example, but it's emulating correctly how the flow are working on the bank programs. Again, we need to break here. And the last one is to go to the main. Okay, let's do case 4. We need to set the back to the main to true and break. And for default operation, we just need to say a message to the user like an invalid command or so. Invalid command. And this is going to be repeated. That's all. That's all you need to manage the bank account. Let's see that in action. So going back to the main method, in the case that you want to select number 2 and select and view a single account, you can also do more actions on that, right? Which would make sense. So I would go and call that method here on line 38, which is after the user has provided the correct number of the account. Now we are sure that we can use the rest of the methods, right? And we have the selected account that we are passing as values in the parameters in the method handle account actions. So one thing that we forgot is to handle the third option here, which is the exit one. We're going to add one more case. And we're going to set the exit to be true. And we're going to break the case. And that's it. So believe it or not, that's all that we had to do to select an account and manage that account. Let's see this in action. So view all accounts, select accounts. Let's see view all accounts. Cool. Ali, George, Michael, view all accounts, select an account or exit. Let's exit for now. Cool. The program just exited. Let's run again. And this time, let's select a specific account. And let's say account number 2. Let's try that one more time and see how we're going. We have noticed that we have done a mistake on the account number, so the check should be like greater or equal to 0. Let's run this again and see. Select an account. Please provide the account number, which is account number 1. So account number 1, it's Alice, current balance 100, and we have some options for actions. We want to view the balance, we want to withdraw, and we want to deposit. Select an option. Cool. We already know the balance, so we'll say, okay, let's deposit. And now we need to define the deposit amount. It's going to be like 150. And now we can again view the balance. Cool. Alice, and account balance is 250. If you remember, in the beginning, we set the balance of the Alice accounts to be 100. But because we deposited 150 here, now the new balance is 250. Let's do that one more time. So let's do a deposit again. 3. Let's deposit 5,000. Successfully deposit 5,000. And let's view the balance. Cool. The new balance is 5,250. But now let's say that we want to withdraw some money. And we want to withdraw 6,000, which Alice doesn't have in her account, right? Insufficient balance for withdrawal. But if we do a valid one for 500 to 5,250, cool, successfully withdrew 5,250, and the new balance of the Alice accounts is 0. That's it. We can say, okay, 4 to return to the main, and we can say 3 for exit, and that's it. That's it for this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel so you get notified when I publish new ones. Thank you very much for watching and see you soon. Bye.